All right. Empires of the Earth, the second expansion for March of the Ants, after Minions of the Minnow. We'll go over some card types again, explain how they work. First of all, we have the Chambers, which is a completely new card type. There's a default chamber, the old tunnel, with which you start play. How do chambers work? You see 4 X spots on the old tunnel there. So anytime you take a reaction, you can choose to, instead of taking the normal reaction, to do the chamber reaction, meaning that you take an egg from your supply and you add it on an empty spot on the chamber. Once all the spots are filled, then at the appropriate time, so for your tunnel at the start of the queen phase, you get an extra effect. In this case, draw a card and then discard it. As I said, everybody can start with the old tunnel, but all the old tunnels also have another chamber on their backside. In this case, the battle eggs. Again, same thing for filling it up, of course. Whenever you take a reaction, you may instead place an egg on the supply, and this one triggers at the start of the soldier phase, and then stays in play for the rest of the game. Every time it's full and you've used its ability, you empty out the card again. Aside from the chambers that you start play with, there's also chambers that you can bring into play that are part of the normal deck. As per usual with cards, you can pay them using ants or larvae. And you see 1+, so you have to pay at least 1. As you pay 1, you put it immediately on an X spot. But if you want to, you can pay more and fill up spots as much as you can with the ants or larvae that you use to pay for it. Of course, if you fill it all up, then you are sure that you will be able to use it, but there won't be any free space anymore to use it, to fill up with eggs as a reaction. Because it's useful, all the times that you've said, well, I have 0 cards and I'll cycle all of them as the player next to me is playing a card. Well, you could say, I'm not cycling my 0 cards, I'm taking an egg. Anyway, this one, the Mutation Cave, gives you an extra worker phase action. So if you fill it up during the worker phase, you can spend all the eggs and then you do what it says on the card. So in this case, drawing 3 cards, choosing one to keep, and possibly even playing an evolution and giving other players a reaction, of course. So those were chambers, and as you can see on the rules card, it also mentions tactics, but we've already gone over those in the Minions of the Meadow video. So instead I'll talk about mutations now. Mutations are like evolutions, almost completely the same. I mean, obviously this is an abdomen and it gives you an ability as you play it on your ant. But for all other purposes, it doesn't count as an evolution. It doesn't give you points for a complete ant body. It doesn't interact with any cards that talk about evolutions. It doesn't give you the cast bonus. But instead, you start with them in play already. So you get dealt 4 mutations, you choose 2, and like that, you have a more asymmetrical start of the game. And that's all that they do. They disappear whenever you play an evolution on that body part. That's it. All right, and then finally, we have the Queen's Decree, which is another way of shaking up the game for everybody. They are essentially a shared colony goal. So this one, for example, gives Veep equal to the round number based on whoever has the most evolutions, so that there is an area of the game where everybody can and will compete with one another. And that is it. This was intended as a mini expansion, but they made enough cards to replace the original deck if we are so inclined. And that is really it. Bye-bye.